It was just a goodbye kiss. You're insecure. I caught my fiancée kissing her ex at our engagement party. She mocked me and played the victim, so I destroyed the wedding before it ever happened. The music was booming in the hotel ballroom while I watched Mariana from the other side of the dance floor. We'd been together for 3 years and had just announced our engagement only 2 hours ago. Champagne glasses were circulating among the 200 guests. Our families were laughing and celebrating, and I felt like the luckiest man in the world until I saw her disappear down the hallway that led to the private restrooms, followed 5 seconds later by Rodrigo, her ex-boyfriend. Rodrigo had arrived with his sister Camila, Mariana's best friend since college. When I saw him enter the ballroom, I felt a pang of discomfort I tried to ignore. Mariana had assured me 1,000 times there was nothing between them, that their relationship had ended amicably 4 years ago, that he was practically like a brother to her. Now I'd wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. But something in the way their eyes met when he arrived, something in the smile she gave him while greeting other guests, set off an alarm in my chest. I tried to focus on conversations with my uncles, on the toasts my father was organizing, on the hugs from friends I hadn't seen in months, but my eyes kept looking for her. And when I saw her slip away down that hallway, my gut screamed that something was wrong. I waited 30 seconds. 60, 90. Mariana didn't come back. Neither did Rodrigo. My brother Sebastian was telling me something about his new job, but I wasn't listening anymore. I left my glass on a nearby table and walked towards the hallway with my heart hammering in my chest, praying I was wrong, begging for my paranoia to be just that. Baseless paranoia. The hallway was dim, barely lit by 2 decorative lamps on the walls. The private restroom doors were on the right, but it was the movement on the small balcony at the end of the corridor that caught my attention. There, silhouetted against the city lights coming through the large window, were 2 figures embracing. I recognized Mariana's ivory-colored dress immediately, the one she'd chosen so carefully for tonight, the one she'd shown me 3 times asking for my opinion. I approached without making a sound. Each step seemed to echo in my ears despite the bustle of the party left behind. When I was less than 3 meters away, I could see them clearly. Rodrigo's hands were around Mariana's waist, his face tilted towards hers, and then it happened. Their lips met in a kiss that, although it lasted only a few seconds, seemed to stretch for an eternity before my eyes. It wasn't an accidental kiss, it wasn't a casual brush, it was deliberate, intense, charged with an intimacy that cut through me like a knife. When they separated, Mariana caressed his face with a tenderness I'd never seen her show anyone else. Rodrigo whispered something in her ear that made her smile. That smile of hers I thought was only for me. I took a step forward, and my shoe creaked on the wooden floor. Both turned towards me with eyes wide as saucers. Mariana's face paled for a second before she recomposed herself with a speed that disturbed me. Rodrigo took a step back, putting his hands in his pockets with an expression that seemed more annoyed than ashamed. "Diego," Mariana stammered, approaching me with her hands outstretched. "It's not what it looks like." My eyes went from her to Rodrigo, and then back to her. The rage, the pain, the confusion, everything swirled in my chest, creating a knot so tight I could barely breathe. "Oh no," I said with a calm I didn't feel. "Then tell me what it looks like." She moved closer, trying to touch my arm, but I stepped back. "Diego, please, listen to me. It was just a goodbye kiss. Rodrigo and I had unfinished business from the past, and we just needed to close that chapter. That's all. It means nothing. A goodbye kiss," I repeated, feeling each word like glass in my mouth. In the middle of our engagement party with 200 guests celebrating our future in there, Rodrigo finally spoke, his voice irritatingly calm. "Look, we didn't want it to happen like this, but things between Mariana and me were never really resolved. We had to know. We had to be sure." "Sure of what?" I asked, my voice rising a tone despite my efforts to stay in control. "That what we had was really over," Mariana answered, and her words hit me harder than any insult. "Diego, I love you. I really do, but there was this doubt, this little doubt I needed to resolve before marrying you. It wouldn't be fair to you if I didn't." I stared at her, trying to find in her eyes any trace of the woman I'd fallen in love with. "It wouldn't be fair to me," I repeated slowly. "Kissing your ex at our engagement party wouldn't be fair to me?" "Exactly," she said as if it were the most reasonable thing in the world. "I needed to be sure of my feelings before taking the next step with you. And now I am." Now I know it's you I want. I stared at her in silence for several seconds that seemed to stretch into eternity. She waited, with that pleading expression that had so often melted my resistance in past arguments. But this time was different. This time she'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. "Do you know what's the most insecure thing about all this?" I finally said, my voice coming out firmer than I expected. "It's not the kiss, it's that you really think you had the right to do it. That your need to be sure justifies humiliating me this way." Mariana frowned. "I'm not trying to humiliate you, Diego. I'm being honest with you. I'd rather resolve this now than after the wedding when it'd be much more complicated." Rodrigo nodded as if she were saying something profound. "She's right, man. It's better this way. Now you can move forward, without doubts." Something inside me broke at that moment. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the absolute lack of remorse. The way they both seemed to think I should be grateful for their honesty. The way Mariana expected me to just forgive her and carry on as if nothing had happened. "You're right," I said, turning to leave. "It's better this way." Mariana grabbed my arm. "Wait, where are you going? We still have to go back to the party. People are going to wonder where we are." I looked her straight in the eyes. "You can tell them whatever you want. I'm leaving." "But Diego," she protested, her voice rising. "You can't just leave. What am I going to tell my family, your parents?" "Tell them the truth," I replied, freeing my arm from her grip. "Tell them you decided to kiss your ex in the middle of our engagement party because you needed to be sure. I'm sure they'll understand perfectly." "You're overreacting," she snapped, and for the first time I detected a hint of panic in her voice. "It was just a kiss, Diego. Just a stupid kiss. Don't ruin everything over this." I laughed, a bitter sound I didn't even recognize as my own. "I'm not ruining anything, Mariana. You already did." "Diego, please," she begged, trying to take my hand again. "I'm sorry, okay? It was a mistake. It won't happen again. Please, don't leave like this." I pushed her away gently, but firmly. "I need air. I need to think." "But the party," she insisted. "Everyone's waiting." "Then you'd better get back to them," I replied, walking back towards the main ballroom without looking back. No, I didn't go back to the ballroom. Instead, I took the elevator straight to the parking garage, ignoring the messages that started flooding my phone. I got in my car and sat there for several minutes with my hands gripping the steering wheel while I tried to process what had just happened. I drove aimlessly for almost an hour, letting the city lights blur past the windows, while my mind replayed the scene on that balcony over and over again. When I finally stopped, I found myself in front of my best friend Lucas's apartment. It was almost 11 at night, but I needed to talk to someone who wasn't at that party, someone who could give me perspective without the filter of family appearances. Lucas opened the door in sweatpants and an old t-shirt with a surprised expression that quickly turned to concern when he saw my face. "Diego, what happened? Shouldn't you be at your engagement party?" I walked into his apartment and collapsed on his sofa. "I found Mariana kissing Rodrigo an hour ago." Lucas stood motionless for several seconds. "Rodrigo, her ex-Rodrigo?" "The same. At your engagement party?" "Correct." Lucas let out a string of curses as he sat down next to me. "Man, I'm so sorry." "What did she do? What did she tell you?" I told him the whole conversation, every detail, every absurd justification. Lucas listened in silence, his expression growing darker and darker. "Let me get this straight," Lucas said when I finished speaking. "She tells you she needed to kiss her ex to be sure of her feelings in the middle of your engagement party with your family and hers there. And then she expects you to just forgive her and move on as if nothing happened?" "Basically," I replied, feeling the rage rise in my throat again. "And what did you tell her?" "That I was leaving." Lucas nodded slowly. "Good. What else?" "Nothing else." I left. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Diego, listen to me carefully. I've known Mariana for 3 years. I've seen how she treats you, how she manipulates you with that sweet little girl face every time she messes up. This isn't the first time she's done something like this. It's just that this time she crossed the line." "What do you mean it's not the first time?" Lucas sighed. "How many times have you had to apologize for things she did? How many times has she made you feel guilty for being upset when she was clearly in the wrong?" I thought about his words. It was true we had patterns in our arguments. Mariana had a special ability to turn situations around, to make me end up being the bad guy, even when she was the one who'd caused the initial problem. But I always thought it was just her way, her strong personality. "It's not the same, Lucas." This is different. Of course it's different, he agreed. This is worse, much worse. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I don't know, I admitted. I don't know yet. My phone, which I turned back on in the car, started vibrating again. It was Mariana. Again. I rejected the call. How many times has she called? Lucas asked. I checked the log. 32 missed calls. 58 unread messages. Lucas whistled low. She's desperate. She should be. My phone rang again, but this time it was my mother. I hesitated a moment before answering. Diego, where are you? Her voice sounded tense, worried. Mariana's here crying, telling everyone you had a fight and left. Your father's trying to calm down her family. It's a disaster. Mom, I need you to listen to what I'm about to tell you without interrupting me. I told her everything, every detail. My mother was silent for several seconds after I finished. That girl, she finally said, her voice filled with a fury I rarely heard from her. That girl dared to do that at her own engagement party. So you believe me? Of course I believe you, Diego. I know my son. If you left your own party, it's because something very serious happened. And what you just told me, son, is unforgivable. What's happening there? Well, after you left, Mariana came back to the ballroom in a flood of tears. She told everyone you had an argument because you were jealous of her friendship with Rodrigo, that you got possessive and insecure and left like a child. Your father and I didn't know what to think, so we tried to stay calm and the party continued, but the atmosphere got very tense. I felt my jaw clench. She's making me look like the crazy one. That's what it looks like, my mother confirmed. But now that I know the truth, your father and I are going to clear things up. Give me half an hour and I'll call you back. Thanks, Mom. I hung up and looked at Lucas. She's painting me as the villain of the story. Of course she is, he said. That's what people like that do. They play the victim. She knows if the truth comes out, she'll look like what she is, a traitor, so she has to get ahead of the narrative. My phone rang again. This time it was my brother Sebastian. Diego, what the hell is going on? Mariana's here saying you got jealous for no reason, and Mom just took her out of the ballroom to talk in private. Dad looks like he's about to explode. I need to know what really happened. I told him the same story. Sebastian let out a string of expletives that would have made a sailor blush. That damn Rodrigo, he growled. I always knew there was something weird with that guy. The way he looked at Mariana, as if he still had rights to her. Mariana always said they were just friends. Yeah, well, friends don't kiss on the lips, Sebastian replied. Listen, where are you? I'm coming over. At Lucas's place. Give me the address. We need to talk strategy. Strategy? I repeated. Sebastian, it's not a war. Of course it is, he said. Mariana already fired the first shot by painting her version of events. If you don't defend yourself, everyone's going to believe you're a jealous and controlling boyfriend. You need to counterattack. He hung up before I could reply. Lucas looked at me with a raised eyebrow. Your brother doesn't mess around. Sebastian's always been the most pragmatic in the family, I said. While I analyze emotions, he analyzes strategies. Well, in this case I think he's right, Lucas opined. Mariana's already controlling the narrative. If you don't do something, she's going to come out of this as the victim and you as the bad guy. I don't want to get into a game of he said, she said. It's not a game, Diego. It's your reputation, your dignity. You can't just let her paint you as a monster when she's the one who committed the betrayal. Before I could answer, my phone rang again. It was a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, but something made me answer. Diego, it's Camila. The voice on the other end sounded nervous. Rodrigo's sister. I need to talk to you. I've nothing to talk about with you, Camila. Your brother kissed my fiancée in the middle of our party. I know, she said quickly. That's why I'm calling. You need to know something. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. Mariana and Rodrigo have been talking for months. My fingers tightened around the phone. What? They've been messaging constantly. Rodrigo told me about it 2 weeks ago. He said Mariana confessed she still had feelings for him, that she was marrying you because it was safe and stable, but that she'd never stopped loving him. I felt as if someone had dumped a bucket of ice water on me. Are you sure about this? Completely. Rodrigo showed me the messages. Mariana told him she cared about you, but that it wasn't the same kind of intense, passionate love she felt for him, that she needed to see him one more time before the wedding to know if there was still something between them. So the kiss was planned. Yes, Camila confirmed. I'm sorry, Diego. I know I should have told you something sooner, but Rodrigo's my brother, and I was in a tough spot. But after seeing what happened tonight, after seeing how Mariana's making you look like the bad guy, I can't stay quiet. It's not fair. Why are you telling me now? Because Rodrigo just told me Mariana asked him to keep quiet, to tell everyone you misunderstood a friendly hug, to lie for her, and I'm not going to be an accomplice to that. I can send you screenshots of the messages if you need them. Send them, I said without thinking. Send them all. I will. And Diego, I'm really sorry. Mariana doesn't deserve you. She hung up. Lucas was staring at me with wide eyes. What was that? I explained. His expression darkened even more. So it was premeditated. They planned to kiss at your own party. It seems so. Diego, that's worse than an impulsive betrayal. That's calculated. Cold. That woman literally organized her infidelity at the event celebrating her engagement to you. My phone started vibrating with notifications. Camila was keeping her promise. Screenshots started arriving. I opened the first one and felt my stomach clench. Mariana's message said, I can't stop thinking about you, Rodrigo. Diego's good to me. He's stable. But with you I felt something I've never felt again. I need to see you before the wedding. I need to know if that spark's still there. Rodrigo's reply. I miss you too. I made a mistake letting you go. If there's any chance for us to get back together, I need to know before you get married. I kept swiping. There were dozens of messages like that exchanged over the last 4 months. While Mariana and I were choosing the wedding venue, she was writing to Rodrigo about how she missed his touch. While I was working overtime to pay for the engagement ring, she was sending him pictures of what she called our good times. While I was planning our future, she was planning this betrayal. The last message was from 3 days ago. Mariana wrote, the engagement party's on Saturday. I know it sounds crazy, but I need to see you there. I need you to kiss me one last time. If I feel the same way as before, I'll know I can't marry Diego. If I feel nothing, I'll be able to move on without doubts. Rodrigo replied, I'll be there. I love you, Mari. I've always loved you. I passed the phone to Lucas. He read in silence, his expression growing grimmer with each screenshot. Diego, he murmured finally. This is evidence of premeditation. She literally planned to kiss him at your engagement party as a test. She used you. She turned you into her backup plan. The doorbell rang. Lucas went to open it and came back with Sebastian, who stormed in like a hurricane. All right, my brother said. Let's see what we've got. I showed him the messages. Sebastian read them with an increasingly hard expression. Perfect, he said finally. This changes everything. What do you mean? Sebastian sat in front of me with that strategic look he used in his job as a corporate lawyer. Mariana's controlling the narrative at the party, making you look like a jealous and insecure boyfriend. But with these messages, you have concrete evidence that she planned this betrayal. It wasn't an impulse. It wasn't a mistake. It was calculated and deliberate. And what am I supposed to do with that evidence? I asked, although a part of me already knew the answer. Sebastian leaned forward, his eyes shining with that intensity that made him so effective in the courtroom. Expose her. Show everyone the truth. You can't let her come out of this as the victim when you're the one who was betrayed in the most calculated way possible. I don't know if I want to get into that drama, I admit it. Part of me just wants to disappear and forget this whole thing happened. Lucas shook his head. Diego, if you do that, Mariana will control the story forever. You'll be the insecure boyfriend who ruined his own engagement party. All your friends, your family, even people you don't know, will have that version of events. You'll carry that reputation. Sebastian took my phone and reviewed the messages again. Besides, he added, if you don't confront her now with proof, what makes you think she won't try to get back with you? I know women like Mariana. They're experts at manipulation. In a week, she'll show up at your door crying, promising she's changed, that she made a mistake, that you're the love of her life. And without this clear proof in front of you, without having taken a firm stand, there's a chance you'll fall for it again. I'm not getting back with her, I said with more conviction than I felt. You say that now, Lucas replied softly. But when you're alone at 3 in the morning, when you miss what you thought you had, when she uses all her manipulation tactics that have worked for 3 years, you're going to doubt. You need to do this not just for your reputation, but for your own sanity. You need a definitive closure. My phone started ringing again. It was my mother. Diego, your father and I just had a very interesting conversation with Mariana. Her voice sounded tense. She insists on her version that I was just being irrationally jealous. She says Rodrigo is like a brother to her and that I misunderstood a friendly hug. Mom, I have proof that what happened was planned. Messages between her and Rodrigo from the last 4 months where she basically admits she's using me as a backup plan while she decides if she still loves him. Silence from the other end of the line. Then, send them to me. Now. I forwarded her the screenshots. I heard her breathing get heavier as she read them. That. My mother started and then stopped. I heard voices in the background. Diego, your father wants to talk to you. My father's voice sounded like contained thunder. Son, I just saw the messages. This woman planned to humiliate you at your own party. This isn't just a betrayal. It's a level of disrespect so great it has no name. I know, Dad. What are you going to do about it? The question stopped me. What was I going to do? All my life, I'd been the quiet son, the one who avoided conflict, the one who preferred to retreat rather than fight. But something in the events of this night had awakened something different in me, a cold, calculated rage I'd never felt before. I'm going to expose her, I said. Finally, I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person she is. Good, my father replied. Your mother and I support you completely. What'd you need? I need you to gather both families tomorrow. Everyone who was at the party tonight. Tell them I have something important to show them about what really happened. Consider it done, my father said. 11 in the morning at our house. They'll be there. After hanging up, I looked at Sebastian and Lucas. All right, I said. We're going to do this. But we do it my way. No yelling. No unnecessary drama. Just the truth, clear and direct. Sebastian nodded in approval. Exactly. The truth is enough. You don't need to add anything else. We spent the next 2 hours planning. Sebastian, with his legal expertise, helped me organize the evidence logically and chronologically. Lucas helped me practice what I was going to say, making sure I kept my cool and composure. Around 2 in the morning, my phone rang with an unknown number. I answered cautiously. Diego. It was the voice of Mariana's mother, Dona Patricia. Please, forgive my daughter. She made a terrible mistake, but she loves you. She's devastated. She hasn't stopped crying since you left. Dona Patricia, I said with all the courtesy I could muster. With all due respect, your daughter didn't make a mistake. She planned to kiss her ex-boyfriend at our engagement party for 4 months. That's not a mistake. It's a conscious and deliberate decision. You're exaggerating, she replied, her tone becoming defensive. Mariana told me it was just a friendly hug you misinterpreted. Are you letting jealousy ruin something beautiful? I felt the rage rise in my throat, but I contained it. Dona Patricia, tomorrow at 11 in the morning, there'll be a meeting at my parents' house. I suggest you attend if you want to know the truth about what your daughter's been doing for the last 4 months. Diego, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, I interrupted. I'm being fair. Your daughter has lied not only to me, but to you, to my family, to all the guests at that party. Tomorrow you'll see the evidence, and then you can judge for yourselves who's exaggerating. I hung up before she could reply. Lucas whistled low. That was a power move. It was necessary, Sebastian said. Mariana's family's clearly willing to believe everything she says without question. They need to see the evidence with their own eyes. My phone vibrated with a text message from Mariana. It was long, desperate, full of pleas and promises. It ended with, Please, Diego, give me a chance to explain. I love you. I've always loved you. It was just a moment of confusion. Don't ruin what we have over a stupid mistake. I showed the message to Sebastian and Lucas. They both shook their heads simultaneously. 4 months of messages with her ex isn't a moment of confusion, Lucas commented. It's a double life. Don't reply, Sebastian advised. Anything you say now can be used to paint you as the bad guy. Maintain silence until tomorrow. I followed his advice. I spent the night at Lucas's apartment, sleeping in restless bursts, filled with dreams of Mariana and Rodrigo kissing while everyone at the party applauded them. Every time I woke up, I checked my phone and found more messages from her, each one more desperate than the last. At 6 in the morning, I received a message from Rodrigo. Look, man, I know last night was intense, but you need to understand that Mariana and I have history. What you two have is nice, but it's not real. She loves me. She's always loved me. Let her go. It's for the best. That was what finally broke my last resistance. Not only had they planned to betray me, but now Rodrigo had the audacity to tell me to just give up as if I were the obstacle in their great love story. I forwarded the message to Sebastian with a single word. Unbelievable. His response was immediate. Save that message. We'll use it tomorrow. This guy's digging his own grave. At 9 in the morning I showered, put on my best suit, and mentally prepared myself for what was coming. Lucas insisted on accompanying me for moral support. Sebastian was already at my parents' house, helping them set up the space for the meeting. When we arrived, my mother hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, son, she whispered. Not for what happened, but for how you're handling it. With dignity and truth. My father shook my hand firmly. Mariana's family will arrive in half an hour. They've already confirmed their attendance. Some of your uncles and cousins who were at the party last night are also coming. They want to understand what really happened. My parents' living room gradually filled up. My Aunt Elena and Uncle Roberto, my cousins Andrea and Miguel, some close friends who'd been at the party. They all looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and concern. At exactly 11 o'clock, the doorbell rang. My mother went to open it. Mariana's family entered in a line. Her parents Patricia and Ernesto, her younger sister Daniela, her uncles and 2 of her cousins. And finally Mariana, with eyes swollen from crying, clinging to her mother's arm. When our eyes met, she tried to smile, that pleading smile that had so often melted my anger. But this time I only felt coldness. Diego, she began to say, taking a step towards me. Sit down, Mariana, I said in a firm but quiet voice. Everyone needs to sit down. There was a moment of confusion as people found places. Mariana ended up on the sofa between her parents, looking at me with pleading eyes. I stood in front of everyone, with my laptop connected to my parents' TV. Thanks everyone for coming, I began. I know last night was confusing for many of you. Mariana told you her version of what happened. That we had a fight because I was being jealous and insecure. That I misunderstood a friendly hug between her and Rodrigo. That I ruined the party with my irrational jealousy. Several people nodded. Mariana clung tighter to her mother's arm. I'm here to show you the truth, I continued. And after you see what I have to show you, each of you can draw your own conclusions. Diego, Patricia intervened. I don't think it's necessary to make all this theater. It's not theater, Dona Patricia, I replied calmly. It's transparency, something your daughter should have practiced with me for the last 4 months. I opened the first screenshot on the television. Mariana's message to Rodrigo. I can't stop thinking about you. The silence in the room was absolute. All eyes were fixed on the TV screen, where Mariana's words shone with devastating clarity. I heard her mother's choked gasp, her father's grunt of disbelief. Diego, what is this? Mariana asked, her voice trembling, but with a tone of indignation that surprised me. Where did you get those messages? From someone with more of a conscience than you, I replied coldly. But don't interrupt, we're just getting started. I moved to the next screenshot, then the next, and the next. Each message was a stab for everyone present. I saw Patricia's face go from pink to pale white. Ernesto, Mariana's father, clenched his fists on his knees, looking at his daughter with an expression I'd never seen on him. The messages told a complete story, not just the betrayal, but the premeditation. Mariana talking to Rodrigo about how I was stable but boring, how she missed the passion they had, how she needed to be sure before making the mistake of marrying me. This one's from 3 weeks ago, I said, pointing to a particularly painful one. Mariana tells Rodrigo she's trying on wedding dresses, but every time she looks in the mirror, she imagines walking towards him instead of me. My Aunt Elena made a sound of disgust. Mariana's sister, Daniela, stared at her older sister with wide eyes, as if seeing a stranger. And this one, I continued, showing the final message, is from 3 days ago, where Mariana and Rodrigo literally plan what happened last night. The kiss at the engagement party, the final test to know if there was still something between them. Mariana jumped to her feet abruptly. Stop. That's enough, Diego. Okay, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but you don't need to humiliate me like this in front of my whole family. Humiliate you, I repeated, feeling the rage finally break the surface of my calm. You humiliated me, Mariana, at our own engagement party in front of 200 guests. You made me look like a fool while you kissed your ex you'd been planning with for months. It was just a kiss, she shouted. I just wanted to be sure. For 4 months. I raised my voice for the first time. For 4 months, while I was working overtime to pay for the ring, while I was planning our future, while I was telling my family how lucky I was to have found you. You were having an emotional affair with your ex, telling him you loved me only because I was safe, telling him you missed him. Tears were streaming down Mariana's face now. Diego, please, can I explain? You already explained, I interrupted. In these messages, you perfectly explained how you see me as your second option, your backup plan. The boring but stable guy who'd give you security while you dreamed of the passion you had with another. Ernesto stood up, his face red with shame and fury. Mariana, is this true? All of it. Mariana looked at her father, then at me, then back at the screen where her own words condemned her. Dad, she stammered. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. You knew exactly what you wanted, I said. You wanted to keep me as a backup while you explored if you still had a future with Rodrigo. And when you decided you needed to kiss him to be sure, you didn't even have the respect to wait until after the party. You did it at the very moment we were supposed to be celebrating our engagement. Patricia stood up next to her husband. Diego, I understand you're hurt, but to expose my daughter like this in front of the whole family is cruel. Cruel? I repeated, looking directly at her. You know what's cruel, don't you, Patricia? That your daughter planned to betray me for months. That she used me while keeping an emotional relationship with another man alive. That she made me feel crazy last night when I confronted her, telling me it was just a meaningless goodbye kiss. And that you, her mother, called me last night accusing me of being jealous and irrational, without even asking for my side of the story. Patricia seemed to shrink at my words. My mother stepped forward, standing by my side in a silent but powerful show of support. There's something else everyone should see, I said, opening the last screenshot. This message came to me this morning from Rodrigo. The message appeared on the screen, its arrogance intact. Let her go. It's for the best. She loves me. She's always loved me. So Rodrigo was in on this too, my cousin Miguel muttered. He knew perfectly well she was engaged. And still, not only that, Sebastian interrupted, stepping forward with a folder in his hands. Rodrigo attended the party last night with the specific intention of kissing Mariana. It wasn't an impulse, it wasn't a moment of weakness, it was calculated and planned. They both knew exactly what they were doing. Mariana sank back onto the sofa, covering her face with her hands. Her sobs filled the ensuing silence. Diego, Daniela, Mariana's younger sister, began. Her voice trembled. I'm so sorry for what my sister did to you. It's unforgivable. Ernesto approached me. His expression was a mixture of shame and determination. Diego, there are no words to express how sorry I am for this. We raised Mariana to be better than this. Clearly we failed somewhere. You didn't fail, Mr. Ernesto, I replied. Mariana's an adult who made her own decisions. Decisions that showed a lack of respect not only for me, but for both our families, for everyone who celebrated with us last night. Mariana lifted her head abruptly. Diego, I can still fix this. Give me a chance. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut off all contact with Rodrigo, whatever it takes, please. I looked at her for a long moment. Part of me, a small, pained part, wanted to believe she could change. But the evidence in front of me told a different story. Mariana, I said finally, for 4 months you had countless opportunities to be honest with me. Countless moments where you could have said, Diego, I have doubts. I need time to figure them out. But you didn't. Instead, you chose to lead a double life. You chose to move forward with wedding plans while keeping the flame alive with your ex. You chose to use our engagement party as the stage for your little romantic experiment. It was a mistake, she whispered. It was a series of decisions, I corrected her. Hundreds of small decisions over 4 months. Every message you sent to Rodrigo was a decision. Every time you told me you loved me while dreaming of him was a decision. And when you finally decided to kiss him at our party, that was a decision too. I turned to both families. I called everyone here today because you deserve to know the truth. You deserve to understand that what happened last night wasn't the product of my irrational jealousy or my insecurity. It was the inevitable result of months of planned deceit and betrayal. My father came over and put a hand on my shoulder. We're proud of you, son, for maintaining your dignity, for not letting them turn you into the villain of a story where you were the victim. Patricia approached me with hesitant steps. Diego, please, as a mother I ask for your forgiveness. I should have listened to your side last night before judging you. I should have known my own daughter better. I appreciate your apology, Dona Patricia, I replied. But this isn't about forgiveness. It's about truth and respect. Your daughter didn't respect me. She didn't respect our relationship, and when she was caught, her first reaction was to lie and manipulate the situation to make me look like the bad guy. Ernesto turned to Mariana with an expression I'd never seen on him. Mariana Isabel, you need to leave this house right now. Go wait in the car. I have to apologize properly to Diego's family. Dad, Mariana sobbed. Now, he repeated firmly. Mariana stood up slowly, looking at me one last time with pleading eyes. Diego, please, don't end everything like this. Give me a chance. You already had your chance, I replied. You had 3 years of chances. You wasted them all. She left the room with stumbling steps, followed by her mother, who shot an apologetic look at my family before leaving. Daniela stayed behind, approaching me with tears in her eyes. Diego, she began. I never knew about any of this. If I had, I would have told you. Mariana was always my hero, my perfect older sister, but this is unforgivable. Thanks, Daniela, I said softly. I know this must be hard for you too. She nodded and quickly left, wiping her tears. Ernesto remained, his posture stooped as if carrying the weight of the world. Diego, he said finally, I completely understand if you never want to see any of us again, but I want you to know my family doesn't condone what Mariana did. This goes against every value we tried to instill in her. I know, Mr. Ernesto. You always treated me well. This isn't your fault. He nodded gratefully and headed for the door. Before leaving, he turned one last time. The wedding gifts, the deposits, everything your family spent on preparations, we'll reimburse it all. It's the least we can do. It's not necessary, I began. But he raised a hand. I insist. It's the right thing to do. And Diego, you're a good man. You deserve much better than what my daughter gave you. After he left, the tension in the room gradually dissolved. My uncles and cousins started coming over, offering words of support and hugs. My Aunt Elena squeezed my arm tightly. You did the right thing, son, she said. You didn't let them make you the bad guy. You defended your truth with dignity. Lucas came over with 2 glasses of whiskey. I think you earned this, he said with a sad smile. I took the glass and drank, feeling the burn go down my throat. Sebastian sat next to me. How'd you feel, he asked. Empty, I admitted. Like everything I believed was real for 3 years was a lie. Not everything was a lie, my mother said, sitting on my other side. The good times you had, the feelings you had, those were real. It's just that she wasn't being honest about hers. That somehow makes it worse, I said. It means I lived in an illusion while she knew the truth. But now you know the truth too, Lucas intervened. And even though it hurts, the truth sets you free. It lets you move on without doubts, without what-ifs. You know exactly who she is and what she's capable of. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a message from Camila, Rodrigo's sister. Diego, you need to know something else. Rodrigo just admitted to me that he and Mariana planned to meet up after your wedding. If last night's kiss confirmed their feelings, they were going to have an affair while you were married. I thought you should know. I'm so sorry. I showed the message to Sebastian and Lucas. They both let out expressions of disbelief. So the plan wasn't just the kiss, Lucas muttered. It was to test if there was still chemistry to then continue the relationship in secret while she was married to you. Sebastian shook his head. Every time you think it can't get worse, a new layer of betrayal appears. My father read the message over my shoulder. Diego, this proves you did the right thing. This woman didn't just betray you once. She was planning to systematically betray you throughout your entire marriage. The next few hours passed in a haze of conversations and family support. My uncles shared stories of their own experiences with betrayal and deceit, trying to make me feel less alone. My cousin Andrea, who'd been through a tough divorce 2 years ago, sat with me and simply listened when I needed to talk. Around 3 in the afternoon, when most of the guests had left, the doorbell rang again. My mother went to open it and came back with a surprised expression. Diego, it's Rodrigo. He says he needs to talk to you. I felt the rage boil in my chest. Tell him to leave. Sebastian stood up. Wait, let him in. I want to hear what excuse this guy has. Rodrigo entered the living room with an expression of discomfort, but also something that looked like poorly disguised arrogance. He stayed near the door, as if ready to run at any moment. What'd you want, Rodrigo? I asked coldly. He cleared his throat. Look, I know last night was a mess, but I came to tell you it wasn't Mariana's fault. It was mine. I pressured her. I insisted on seeing her. She tried to resist, but I've always known how to get to her. Liar. The voice came from the doorway. We all turned to see Camila standing there with her phone in her hand. Rodrigo, stop trying to cover for her. I have all the messages. I know it was her idea as much as yours. Rodrigo paled. Camila, what are you doing here? Fixing the mess you and Mariana created, she replied, entering the room fully. I came to give Diego all the conversations you two had, every message, every log call, everything. She passed her phone to Sebastian, who started reviewing it with ever-widening eyes. Rodrigo, my brother muttered. There are conversations here where you and Mariana literally laugh at Diego. You call him the safe, boring man. You tell her that after the wedding you can meet in hotels. You plan your affair in great detail. The rage I'd been containing finally exploded. Get out of my house, I exclaimed, getting up and walking towards Rodrigo. Now, he held up his hands. Look, I know you're mad, but... Mad, I repeated, my voice dangerously low. Mad is an understatement. You and Mariana not only planned to betray me at my own party, you planned to continue an affair during my marriage. You laughed at me while I was working to build a future with her. Lucas and Sebastian had positioned themselves by my side, creating a physical barrier between Rodrigo and me, probably fearing I might do something I'd regret. Rodrigo stepped back towards the door. I just came to apologize. I don't want your apology, I said. I want you to disappear from my life and from Mariana's life too. Although considering the kind of person you are, that's probably asking too much. Camila approached her brother with an expression of disgust. Rodrigo, I always knew you were selfish, but this is a new level. Mom and Dad are going to be devastated when they find out. You don't have to tell them, Rodrigo said quickly. Of course I have to tell them, she replied. I'm not protecting you anymore. What you did was cruel and calculated. Diego deserves justice, and you deserve the consequences. Rodrigo looked at me one last time. I'm sorry, he muttered before quickly leaving. After he left, Camila apologized profusely. Diego, I'm so sorry my brother's part of this. If it's any consolation, my family's going to make sure he understands the gravity of his actions. Thanks, Camila, I said sincerely. You didn't have to do this. Yes, I did, she replied. What's right is right, no matter if it's my brother who's in the wrong. That night, alone in my apartment, I finally allowed myself to process everything that had happened. For 3 years I'd built my life around Mariana. I'd planned our future, imagined our children, dreamed of growing old together. And all of that had crumbled in a single night, not because of an impulsive mistake, but because of a meticulously planned betrayal. My phone kept vibrating with messages. Some from Mariana, still begging for another chance. Others from friends who'd heard what happened and were offering support. I even received messages from people who'd been at the party, apologizing for initially believing Mariana's version. One of the messages was from Daniela, Mariana's sister. Diego, I can't even begin to apologize for my sister. I grew up admiring her, thinking she was perfect. Today I discovered I didn't know her at all. Thanks for showing my family the truth. You deserve much better. I hope someday you find someone who values you as you deserve. Another message was from Ernesto. Diego, Mariana is at my parents' house. Her mother and I have had a very serious conversation with her about the consequences of her actions. She won't contact you anymore. We've also spoken with Rodrigo and his family. They're equally horrified. I just wanted you to know that this behavior doesn't represent our family's values. But the message that impacted me the most came from an unknown number. Hi Diego. It's Julia, Mariana's cousin. We met briefly at the party last night. I need to tell you something my conscience won't let me keep quiet. 6 months ago, at a family gathering, I heard Mariana talking to another cousin about you. She said she loved you, but that you weren't the love of her life, that was still Rodrigo. She said she was marrying you because it was the sensible thing to do, because with Rodrigo it was always too intense and complicated. I should have said something then, but I thought it wasn't my place. Now I regret it. I'm so sorry. I read that message 3 times. So there had been signs for months, maybe years, that I'd ignored or misinterpreted. Moments when Mariana mentioned Rodrigo with too much nostalgia, occasions when she seemed distant or distracted, all those little red flags my blind love had overlooked. Sebastian arrived with pizza and beer around 9 p.m. We sat on my sofa, eating in silence for several minutes before he spoke. "Do you know what the saddest part of all this is?" he finally said. "It's not just that she betrayed you. It's that she stole your time. 3 years you could have spent with someone who actually valued you." I thought about his words. He was right. At 31, those 3 years represented a significant portion of my adult life, time I'd invested in building a relationship that turned out to be founded on lies. "But I also gained something," I said after a moment. "Clarity. Now I know exactly what kind of betrayal I can tolerate and what I can't. I know what signs to look for. I know what kind of person I want to avoid." Sebastian nodded. "That's a good way to look at it, even though it sucks you had to learn it this way." My phone rang with a call from my mother. "Diego, I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Your father and I are worried." "I'm okay, Mom. Sebastian's here with me." "Good, son. I want you to know something. Today I saw how you handled that whole situation with a maturity and dignity that filled me with pride. Many men in your position would have reacted with violence or revenge. You chose truth and transparency. That says a lot about your character." "Thanks, Mom. That means a lot." "And Diego," she added, "I know it doesn't seem like it now, but this is a gift. Imagine if you'd married her. Imagine discovering this 5 years later with kids involved. This is painful, but it's infinitely better than the alternative." She was right, of course, though at that moment the pain was so fresh it was hard to see past it. The following days were a process of dismantling, canceling the remaining wedding plans, returning the wedding dress Mariana had left at my apartment, dividing the belongings we'd accumulated during 3 years of relationship. Each task was a small funeral for the future I had imagined. A week after the confrontation, I received a package in the mail. Inside was the engagement ring I'd given Mariana, along with a handwritten letter. Mariana's letter trembled in my hands as I read it. "Diego, I don't expect you to read this, much less forgive me, but I need you to know I deeply regret the pain I caused you. You were right about everything. I was selfish, cruel, and cowardly. For months, I led a double life because I didn't have the courage to be honest with you or with myself. You deserve so much better than what I gave you. The ring belongs to you. Do with it what you want. I just want you to know that the time we spent together was real for me, even if my actions say otherwise. I hope someday you find someone who loves you without doubts, without reservations, without betrayal. I'm sorry, Mariana." I folded the letter and put it in a drawer with the ring. I didn't feel the closure I expected, just a persistent void where my planned future used to be. 2 weeks later, Lucas convinced me to go with him to an art gallery. "You need to get out of your apartment," he insisted. "You need to remember there's life beyond Mariana." The gallery was showing photographs of urban landscapes captured in moments of transition between day and night. As I was looking at a particularly moving image of the city at dawn, a female voice spoke beside me. "It's beautiful, isn't it? That moment when darkness meets light." I turned and saw a woman about my age with brown hair pulled back in a loose ponytail and hazel eyes that were studying the photograph with genuine interest. "Yes," I agreed, as if the world is deciding what to be today. She smiled. "I'm a photographer too. Well, I try to be. I work in graphic design to pay the bills, but this is my passion." We talked for 20 minutes about art, about the city, about nothing and everything at the same time. Her name was Elena, and she had a laugh that sounded like bells. When Lucas called me to leave, we exchanged numbers with the casual promise of getting coffee sometime. It wasn't an immediate romantic connection. It was something simpler and more valuable, a genuine conversation with someone who knew nothing about my recent past, who saw me only as Diego, not as the betrayed boyfriend. A month after the family confrontation, Camila called me with unexpected news. "Diego, I thought you should know. Rodrigo and Mariana tried to get their relationship back on track after everything that happened." My stomach clenched. "And it lasted exactly 2 weeks," she said with a tone of evident satisfaction. Turns out that without the drama of being the forbidden love, without the thrill of betrayal, they didn't have much else in common. Rodrigo left her, saying she was too needy and dramatic. Mariana told my mom he's an immature guy who'll never change. I couldn't help a bitter smile. So all that suffering, all that betrayal was for a relationship that couldn't work anyway. "Exactly," Camila confirmed. "My brother's now dating a girl he met at the gym. He's already told her she's the love of his life. Mariana, according to what I heard from Daniela, is living with her parents and going to therapy." I think she finally understood the magnitude of what she lost. The information should have given me satisfaction, but I only felt indifference. Mariana's betrayal no longer occupied the central space in my mind. It had become a lesson learned, a cautionary tale I told myself about ignored red flags. Elena and I started seeing each other regularly for coffee, which turned into lunches, which eventually turned into long dinners where we talked until the restaurant kindly asked us to leave. I told her about Mariana after our third meeting, when I felt I could trust her. "That's terrible," she said, her expression genuinely dismayed. "But it also says a lot about you that you handled it all with such dignity." I didn't always feel dignified, I admitted. There were moments I wanted to do things I would have regretted. "But you didn't do them," she pointed out. "You chose truth over revenge. That requires more strength than most people have." 3 months after the betrayal, my mother organized a small family dinner. When I arrived, I was surprised to see Ernesto and Patricia there without Mariana. "We hope you don't mind," my mother said quickly. I invited them because they've been very respectful throughout this whole process, and I felt they deserved to maintain the relationship with our family. "I don't mind," I said honestly. "You're not responsible for your daughter's actions." The dinner was less awkward than I expected. Ernesto and Patricia had brought pictures from a recent trip to Europe, clearly an attempt to rebuild their marriage after the stress of everything that had happened with Mariana. They talked about their plans to renovate their house, about Daniela's new job. "How is Mariana?" I asked finally, surprising myself. Patricia exchanged a look with Ernesto before answering. "She's finding her way. She moved into her own apartment last month. Got a new job at a marketing firm. She goes to therapy twice a week." "I'm glad," I said, and I was surprised to realize it was true. I didn't want Mariana to suffer forever. I just wanted her to understand and grow from her mistakes. Ernesto cleared his throat. "Diego, I know this might sound strange, but thanks for exposing the truth the way you did. It was painful, but necessary." Mariana was living in a fantasy where her actions had no consequences. You gave her a necessary awakening. 6 months after the engagement party, Elena and I were officially dating. It was different with her, calmer, more honest, more balanced. There was no drama, no games, no hidden doubts. Just two people who enjoyed being together and were building something at their own pace. One afternoon, as we were walking through the park, Elena took my hand. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Do you ever regret how you handled everything with Mariana, exposing her so publicly?" I thought about her question carefully. "No," I finally replied. "If I hadn't done it, I would have spent years wondering if I'd overreacted, if I'd been too harsh. The evidence made it clear to everyone, including myself, that my actions were justified. It gave me the closure I needed." She nodded. "It's just that some people might say it was cruel." Maybe it was, I admitted. But the cruelty wasn't in exposing her. The cruelty was what she did to me for months. I just revealed the truth. If that truth made her look bad, it was because of her own actions, not mine. A year after that fateful night at the engagement party, I received an unexpected invitation. It was from Daniela, inviting me to her university graduation. "Mariana won't be there," said a handwritten note attached. "She went to study for a master's in another city, but I'd like you to come if you feel comfortable. I always considered you part of the family, and just because my sister made terrible mistakes doesn't mean we have to lose our connection." I attended the graduation with Elena by my side. Seeing the family again was strangely healing. Daniela had grown up, matured, and she thanked me for being an example of integrity during a difficult time. "What you did a year ago," she told me, "taught me it's okay to stand up for your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. That love doesn't mean tolerating abuse or betrayal." That lesson has helped me in my own relationships. After the ceremony, Patricia approached me shyly. "Diego," she began, "Mariana asked me to give you this if I saw you." She handed me an envelope. Inside was a picture of the two of us on a trip we'd taken to the beach 2 years ago, both smiling without reservation. On the back, in Mariana's handwriting, it simply said, "Thanks for being honest when I couldn't be. I wish you all the happiness you deserve." I kept the picture in my wallet, not as a memory of what I lost, but as a reminder of what I learned. 2 years after the betrayal, Elena and I got engaged. It was a simple proposal in the same park where we'd had our first real conversation. No drama, no spectacle, just honesty and love. When I told my family, my mother hugged me tightly. "This time it's different," she whispered. I can see it in your eyes. This time it's real. She was right. With Elena, there were no shadows of ex-boyfriends. There were no secret messages, no doubts, just the quiet certainty of two people who had chosen to build something together with transparency and mutual respect. The night before our wedding, 3 years after that fateful engagement party with Mariana, I sat with Sebastian and Lucas, drinking whiskey in my apartment. "Did you ever think about her?" Lucas asked. "About Mariana?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "But not with pain anymore. It's more like thinking about a book I read a long time ago. I remember the story, the lessons, but it doesn't affect me emotionally anymore." Sebastian raised his glass. "To the painful lessons that make us better people." We toasted. And in that moment, surrounded by true friends, a day away from marrying a woman who loved me without reservations or betrayals, I realized something fundamental. Mariana's betrayal hadn't destroyed me, it had refined me. I had learned to value honesty over comfort, truth over appearances, dignity over revenge. I had learned that real love doesn't require experiments or tests, that it doesn't play with others' feelings while deciding what it wants. And most importantly, I had learned that exposing the truth, however painful, is never the cruel act. The cruel act is the betrayal itself. The truth only reveals what already existed in the darkness. As I was getting ready for bed that night, I checked my phone one last time. There was a message from an unknown number. "Hi Diego. It's Mariana. I know this is inappropriate, but I saw on social media that you're getting married tomorrow. I just wanted to say I'm happy for you. Really, you deserve to be happy. I hope she gives you everything I couldn't give you. Loyalty, honesty, unconditional love. I'm sorry for everything. Be happy." I read the message twice, then deleted it. Not with anger, but with indifference. Mariana was part of my past, a lesson learned, a closed chapter. My future was with Elena, and that future started tomorrow. I fell asleep that night with a smile on my face, with no regrets about how I'd handled the situation 3 years ago. I had defended my truth with dignity. I had exposed the betrayal without becoming the villain. And I had come out the other side, not just intact, but stronger. Sometimes, I thought before falling asleep, the worst betrayals lead us to the best destinations. We just need the courage to face the truth and the strength to move forward without looking back. And that, finally, was what I had achieved. Have you ever been betrayed this way? Have you had to expose a painful truth in front of your family? I'd like to know your opinion in the comments. If you made it this far, thanks for joining me on this story. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel.